Hello, Movie Crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode. My name's Sean Wasserkrug, and today we're going to be reviewing the latest MCU film, The Marvels. Now, this is a film that has had many people kind of going either loving it or hating it or choosing to attack you, whether you love it or hate the film. I'm going to say this starting off, I was not the biggest fan of Captain Marvel. Nothing against Brie Larson. I actually liked her performance for what it was. I actually liked the characters in Captain Marvel. It was more the script and the not so fun film out of it, which is, I mean, with MCU films, unless you want something super serious like your Endgames and stuff like that, you still have to have an element of fun, and I felt that the fun was very forced in Captain Marvel and didn't, naturally flow like a normal MCU film would. You also got Miss Marvel with Iman Vellani on Disney Plus. As the show did grow on me by the end of the season, but I was not a fan of that. It's probably my second least favorite now that Secret Invasion's done MCU show. While I also liked the cast, I just wasn't really a fan of the direction and how the story progressed through the season. But the characters, especially Kamala Khan, did grow on me by the end of the season. Then you also have WandaVision. Since Tiana Paris' Monica Rambeau is in this, I loved WandaVision. I think it's probably my third, maybe fourth favorite MCU film or MCU show on Disney Plus, probably behind Hawkeye, Loki, and maybe Falcon Winter Soldier. But throwing all three of these girls together in the same film, while it does feel like they're trying to do a Captain Marvel sequel without actually making it a Captain Marvel sequel, I was not upset seeing the two MCU TV show characters come into play here, but I did go in with very low expectations. Not because I didn't think these three women were capable of putting in good performances, because I do like all three of their characters naturally on the previous films and shows that I've seen them on. It's just the trailers really weren't selling me on this film, but like Brian and I have said with most MCU films, even the worst MCU movies are still better than most movies that are out there. So as I go over this review, it's going to be kind of rough, but I still for the most part enjoyed that. And that's in a nutshell what I can say about The Marvels, is that the movie is a lot of fun. I had fun watching it, but it's one of those things where you're in the film, you're in the movie, you're sitting down, you're enjoying it, you're laughing, you're having fun with the characters, but then once the movie ends, you're sitting there and you're trying to think back on the film, and all you do is just go, yeah, that was fun, and then you start finding more and more and more and more things that was wrong with the film. So you go from like up here, really, really enjoying it, into a downward spiral of going, oh wow, that movie was a mess. And that is really what The Marvels is. Now, like I said, I had fun watching this, and with me reviewing films, the fun factor, the enjoyment factor is where a lot of my score goes to, because at the end of the day, you want to enjoy and have fun watching the films that you watch. So I know there's a lot of people who might want to come over with the cinematography and the score, which is not good in The Marvels, by the way. I could not stand the score in this movie for some reason. It just, everything felt wrong in it. Now, I'm not talking about the needle drops, but just the actual score through the film. But like I said, you can go super artistic with your critics approach and go with the over the top artistic stuff, which most of you people don't care about or want to listen to me talk about. But is it fun? Is it enjoyable? And I can say with The Marvels, it is fun. I think Brie Larson has the most character than any of her performances as Carol Danvers so far in this. I do think she shows a lot more charisma in this, and she reeks of charisma. But I feel like with Captain Marvel and Infinity War and Endgame, when we've seen her in, I feel like they've kind of like almost handcuffed her in terms of her performance, like making her act very wooden and not allowing her to express herself to her fullest potential. And I do feel like, at least for most of this film, they do let Brie Larson just have fun with the Carol Danvers role. And it was the most fun and enjoyable version of Brie Larson that I have seen so far as Captain Marvel. Tiana Paris is Monica Rambeau. I will say, of the three women, she's probably the one that is, I don't want to say given the least amount to do, but she's the one that is more tightly stuck into having to feel a certain way throughout the film. You have this building story that they really could have hit a lot harder in the film. They try to at points, but then they are just so quickly trying to rush through the movie that she has not seen Carol since she was a little girl in Captain Marvel. And you have this overwhelming building tension between them for when they're going to finally meet and how they handle each other, because Carol kind of abandoned Monica when Monica needed her, and Monica's now a superhero, and how's Carol going to handle that? And and the events of what happened with Monica's mother since WandaVision. There's all this story element that could lead to some really good dramatic storytelling between these two characters. And while we get flashes of it in the movie doesn't care to really waste that much time with it, which is a real disservice to both these two actresses, because they have the ability to really showcase those performances if given the time to do it. Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan, a lot of people could find her annoying. A lot of people could call her the female Tom Holland. You know what? She is both those things. But the thing is that she is fun. She's hilarious. She's got great dialogue. And she fits perfectly with Monica and Carol as this kind of middle person who just bounces off of both of them, making sure that the movie stays light and fun, while integrating some light and jolt into basically the film when it feels a little stagnant. And Iman is hilarious in the movie. She's adorable throughout the whole film. She was in Miss Marvel too, but I feel like with Miss Marvel, we have it with just her family and her friend Bruno. She overtly stands out, and sometimes in a good way and sometimes in a very annoying way. But when she's in a movie with this, where you have two older adults and even Nick Fury to a point, she actually, I think, fares better with these characters than she did in her own show, because she is this bright fun spot through this, and she brings out the fun in all the other characters in the film as well. So she definitely killed it in this role. I actually really enjoyed Vellani's performance as Kamala Khan. She's really growing into this, and I really do hope, in spite of how this movie is getting rated and people are either loving it or absolutely hating the film, that all three of these women do come back and play these characters again. I think they all three deserve a better movie than they got with Marvels, because at the end of the day, as fun as this movie is, that I keep saying that's the word I want to keep emphasizing. As the movie is fun, I did enjoy it for what it was, but this movie is a huge mess. It is one of the shorter MCU films. It clocks in, I think, around an hour 40, hour 47. This movie desperately needed at least another 30 minutes of story time. There is so much story that I felt like was either cut out or rewritten or shuffled around, and that's what really is the disservice to this film. It's not the direction of Nia DaCosta. I think she shoots the movie well. I think it looks good at points. There's some CGI hiccups throughout the movie, especially around Carol when she's flying. Sometimes it's just a full-on CGI Captain Marvel, when they really could have just put Brie Larson on wire and done the scenes that way. So it was weird decision-making to shoot her full CG in certain moments, because you could really tell it, which kind of takes you out of the film. But I think Nia DaCosta actually does a solid job with what I guess she's able to do. I feel like this movie is really kind of got carved up by Disney and Marvel to a point. I don't know if they just didn't have the faith in the direction of the story or Nia DaCosta's direction. But this movie, there's so much of this movie that it starts to go one way, and then they just, fast forward through it. A lot of that actually falls into the villain of Dar-Benn, played by Zawe Ashton. She's one of the worst written villains in the MCU, and that's saying something, because the MCU has some really, really, really bad villains. And I don't blame her performance. It's the writing of her character, and it's the time dedicated to her character. There's a story element between her and Captain Marvel that they wait until way into the end of the second act or into the third act to finally divulge, that they really could have sit on and allowed this thing to breathe and allowed more time to, that really could have added more layers of character to Brie Larson's role and more layers to Zawe Ashton's role as Dar-Benn to actually make this villain and this whole reasoning for everything happening just feel more important, feel more at stakes. You can have these all-time villains such as Killmonger and Thanos, where it's like, you know what? They're bad, they're doing bad things, but I understand why they're doing it, so I actually kind of feel for them instead of hate them. And Dar-Benn could have been a villain like that, based off of what we find out in the film. But the problem is that A, she's not given enough time to breathe in this character to really make you feel or give a damn for her or the people around her. And B, and I'm going to credit Dan Merle for this because I didn't realize it until he said it, and then as soon as he did, it just made it even more ridiculous. Her main character motivation is the same character motivation of Spaceballs with Darth Helmet, which is sucking the atmosphere or the water or whatever off planets to basically put back on her planet. And all she was missing was a gigantic vacuum woman sucking the earth out of a planet or the air out of the planet. And you can't write this stuff. Like, did no one go back and check and say, hey, this is basically based off the parody of Spaceballs? It's ridiculous. It really, really is. But that was a huge missed opportunity. Dar-Benn is a horribly written villain, but had the potential to be written as a great villain, but is not given the time or the script to really delve into it as well as they could have. And same thing with Carol, with Brie Larson. She's having fun, she's enjoying it, but then halfway, near 3/4 of the way through the film, she drops this bombshell of a twist or character development of her character, which doesn't feel earned. It felt like it was just tacked on to give a reason for why she hasn't seen Monica in so long. And when we find out that thing, I kind of almost wanted to say, that's bullshit. And I kind of feel like it's bullshit. And why? It's because we weren't given the time. We weren't given the story, the background or anything. It just felt like it was dumped there just to dump there. There's other elements of story worlds that we go to, real weird worlds, which that's another thing that I think I give some credit to this film, is that I felt like they either didn't have faith in the movie overall, or they decided, we want to make this movie be fun, so let's kind of do a Captain Marvel movie like Guardians of the Galaxy or Thor Love and Thunder or Thor Ragnarok, and have it be wacky and zany and keep everyone on their toes. And I agree, there are moments where you're like, what the hell is going on? And you can either go one way saying, I hate this, I despise this, or go, you know what, I'm going to roll with this, this is kind of fun and exciting. There's one particular world they go to that is very much that, and you know what, I ran with it. I was like, alright, this is fun, this is enjoyable to a point. And then something big happens, and they run, and they, like, go to the next scene, and they don't ever really tell us what the hell happened to that place. And you're just like, so are they gone? Are they fine? What's going on? And it's like the movie doesn't care. It's like, hey, we took you here. We're going to, introduce you to all these characters in this world, but then we're just going to completely leave it and F it. Who cares? Let's move on to the next thing. And that's what happens for so much of this film, is that they start to build little things here and there, try to make you kind of care about it for a minuscule of a moment, and then they just dump it and leave it, and you're just supposed to forget about it. And that's very bad writing. It's bad script writing. And even with Kamala's family, you get little moments with them, with Nick Fury. And I want to preface this, because I have a lot of people arguing about this, that this is not the same Nick Fury from Secret Invasion, or, wow, they really aren't paying attention to the MCU here, because Nick Fury was in Secret Invasion this summer, and this is not the same Nick Fury. Well, technically, no, it's not. This The Marvels technically takes place right after Miss Marvel ended, which was before Secret Invasion. The Marvels movie was supposed to come out before Secret Invasion. So yes, this is not the same Nick Fury from Secret Invasion, because in this story, Secret Invasion hasn't happened yet. So anyone who's attacking the writing for Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury in that way is kind of wrong, because Secret Invasion hadn't happened yet. So calm down with the Sam Jackson slander. I will say Sam Jackson is really doing more comedy. Everything is a joke, is a bit for him in this. He's kind of just going through the motions. It looks like he's having a fun time, but it's just gag with the family. There's a whole big Flurgan scene, which once again, very Guardians of the Galaxy with that. And once again, you can either be on board with it or absolutely hate it. I was kind of on the verge of hating it until something happened in it that made me go, okay, this won me over. And that's kind of the thing with Marvels. As bad and as messed up of a film this is in terms of story and script and everything, I still had a fun time watching this. I still enjoyed watching these three women, and I want to see more of them. Whether they're on their own or whether they're together again, I'm open to seeing these again. The final scene of the actual film, I actually got excited for, and I'm excited to see where they go with that. And then there is a post-credit scene, not an end credits, or I'm sorry, it's a mid-credit scene, not a post-credit scene. Once the mid-credit scene happens, you guys can go home. There is no after-credits, post-credit. But the mid-credit scene, as shock factor as it was, and I would normally be very, very excited for it, it kind of left me more confused, puzzled, and actually annoyed that they were going with this route, because I mean, you could chalk it up, this is not what I wanted kind of thing, but I'm not quite sure how to feel about it yet, and you know what? In 5 years, when we've seen more of the unfolding of the story, I can come back to this and go, that worked or that didn't work. But right now, that post-credit, or that mid-credit scene is ranked right up there with the Eternals mid-credit scene. For anyone who knows what I'm talking about, yikes. But at the end of the day, the Marvels, while fun with its three leads, or most of the cast in general, they're all out there having a fun time. There is one fantastic action sequence. I think it's the first fight in the movie where they're first just getting their powers interchangeable. And I know I haven't gone much over the plot, but it's an MCU movie. You guys don't need the plot. You guys are just going to go see it just to go see it. But it's the very first fight sequence where all three of their powers are interchanging. That was such a well-choreographed, fun scene. I was watching it just going, damn, they're doing a great job with this action sequence. Problem is that they don't really ever top that throughout the rest of the film. And you don't want your first fight to be the best fight of the movie, which it is in this case. There's also other elements of the story. Like I said, I don't feel like they really gave this movie a fair chance to be itself. Like I said, it needed 30 more minutes of story. There's certain elements where a character is wearing one thing, and then in the blink of an eye, they're wearing different clothes, and you're wondering, where did they have time to change in this brief moment? The ending is a little bit confusing. They don't really establish it good enough, and I know I'm kind of, sprinkling little things, but not explaining it because spoilers. Duh, we're not doing a spoiler review. But at the end of the day, as fun as it is with these characters, the movie has little to no plot, has a very poor villain that could have been fleshed out and better. The characters, while they're looking like having fun and enjoying themselves, are really directionless through this movie. They're basically giving, here's A point, here's B point, here's C point, and go. And at the end of the score, like I said, I did not like the score at all of this movie. So for me, the Marvels, in terms of the MCU movies, is one of the worst MCU films that's come out. But I still had fun with it at the end of the day. So for me, I'm going to give the Marvels a 62%. Is it one that I will go back and rewatch over and over and over again? Probably not, unless I'm doing like an MCU rewatch. But like I said, I hope we get to see Carol Danvers, Monica Rambeau, and Kamala Khan again, whether they're together or doing separate things. I do feel all three of these women should come back and try to have another go with these characters with a direction and a plot and a story and a script that's going to suit them way better than what the Marvels did overall. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos about on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, go to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, we'll also have a review for David Fincher's The Killer. And then myself and Brian Michaels will be back again this week for another episode of the Movie Crusaders Chat About. Our first episode was last week. We talked about a lot of things since we had been gone for the past month, so feel free to check that out. I got tags on the channel so you guys can jump around and see the different topics we talked about. That's kind of the way the news shows are going to be. We're just going to kind of free fluid, talk about what we want, have fun with it, not try to be as structured. But also next week, movies coming out. We got The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. If I see that, we will have a review for that. Also, Taika Waititi's Next Goal Wins. Thanksgiving, which I'm probably not going to watch. Trolls Band Together, which I'm also probably not going to watch. As well as Rustin on Netflix. I think limited release for May, December, and Saltburn. So we're really starting to get into the holiday movie season where we're getting a lot of movies coming out every weekend. So I'm going to try to see as much as I can, and when I do, I will have the reviews on the channel for you. So be on the lookout for everything popping up on the channel. And until next time, in case I don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.